New Universal Amusement Park Epic Universe has unveiled a Boston Dynamics robotic AI-powered version of the Dragon Hiccup. It is kind of insanely cute. I think it gives those Disney robots a pretty good run for the money. A daughter used her mom's voice, fed it into artificial intelligence to mimic it, and then used it to call out of school.
Her daughter then used her mom's voice on her own dad so that she could have a sleepover.
Using AI-based vision models, you can actually change the whole process of manufacturing, making it way more chaotic and kind of way more convenient. Big news is OpenAI is officially countersuing Elon Musk. They're arguing that he's using bad fake tactics just to slow down his competitor. And that's not how market dynamics are supposed to work. I think I've got some interesting insight into this company Wiz you might not have heard of that Google paid $32 billion to acquire in terms of what it means for the future of AI. And it might be part of why we only learned about Google's agent space after the announcement. Wes Roth clipped out some of the most cringy moments from the TED Talk with Sam Altman.
At first glance, this looks like IP theft. Like, you guys don't have a deal with the Peanuts estate, or?
You can clap about that all you want. Enjoy.
We're gonna look at Google's Firebase Studio to see just how capable it is compared to tools like Replit. We're gonna cover some new AI threats in terms of software development, and talk about why this deep brain structure might be very important for conscious perception. And then we're gonna look at some new math magic to find out exactly where the meaning is in a sentence. Of course, we're gonna talk about overconfidence from AI at scale, the prisoner's dilemma that's emerging between creators and AI. And then we're gonna look at some new research that talks about just how ignorant we are about the tool that we also see as our salvation. But first, if you wanna support the channel, head on over patreon.com/DylanCurious. 92 members. My goal is to try to get that up to 100. Nice triple digits would be it'd be a really good goal for us all to work on. As little as $3 a month. All right, but first, let's talk about some of the new robots coming out of Epic Universe. Like, on a side note, I'm really into like all of those amusement park channels. Like Defunct Land or the Brightside Films channel. I just don't know why. It's just cool. I like amusement parks for some reason. Especially the ones that show you how things are built. And it seems like there is so much new sort of interactive technology at the new Epic Universe that it requires a lot of people like internet sleuths to try to figure it out. So this is everybody's favorite little baby dragon Hiccup, but it looks very independent. Now, the only thing that I can think to compare it to is the NVIDIA and Disney robot droids. They were created with sort of simulations that had more animation characteristics than traditional, just like functional stuff. And it made them very cute, reactive. They move very smoothly. But they're also not an animal shape. And there's something very different when you're actually trying to do something that looks biological, like a dinosaur or a dragon in this case. Okay, so under the skin, we have a Boston Dynamics robot, so supposedly it's Spot. But Universal Studios has clearly added some more animations to the eyelids, the mouth. I would love to see what that thing looks like underneath, like what the actual physical robotic structure of it is. Also, if you look at Spot, out of convenience, his joints don't bend the way animals do. So you can see on this dog how the knees bend backwards on the front, like more towards the belly, and then also more towards the belly on the back legs, right? Well, if you look at the way Spot is, both of them bend backwards, which is fine for sort of a dog-shaped theme. But if that's really Spot underneath, they must have reversed the back legs, and look at how much better it can now mimic the sitting position. Also, I feel like there's another robot in that back tail. It doesn't just quite seem to hang all the time. But that part, the left and right, we've seen stuff like that before. The blinking is pretty impressive. I suppose they could have molded a certain type of plastic with the eyelids for that. But now diving into the pupils, let's see if we can see a camera in there. I kind of think I see a camera, maybe behind one-way glass. Maybe ChatGPT can use its superhuman sense to check for us. Can you see a camera in the eye of this robot dragon? Do you think it's got a camera embedded looking out at everyone? It's a new entertainment piece at Epic Universe. All right, so ChatGPT thinks it's probably a camera lens also. It's very likely this robot dragon needs cameras embedded for eye navigation, audience interaction. I mean, I think it's really cute. I mean, just keep in mind what Dad here posted on X. It is what is under the skin that is terrifying. Something like that is definitely under that skin. Oh, and of course, I just realized I've been saying the name wrong. To be honest, I haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon. I just really like amusement parks. This character is named Toothless. Hiccup is the human. So assuming you haven't already made a comment correcting me, don't waste your time. I got it now. Children are using artificial intelligence to call out of school. So a friend's daughter fed her mom's voice to AI and then used it to get out of school, to hang out with their friends, and to have her friends over for a sleepover. Getting 3,500 likes. There's a lot of details that people are missing. The mom's voice now exists in that ecosystem and is even more vulnerable to identity theft, all because the daughter wanted to skip school. Upside down face. Equally impressed and terrified at the same time. The modern equivalent of forging notes. You know, there is some truth to that. Like I covered in the last video how people were using crinkled up fake receipts for their taxes to help like manage the books, but it's literally fraud. Or just like a scale and ease that makes it a bit different for society. Like you want the bad things to be kind of hard to do so that the good people take the easier route. Like if you actually think back, there was a time when everybody was basically stealing music, MP3s, by downloading them over these things like LimeWire and Kazaa. They were kind of you don't really hear about them anymore, but they were decentralized copying machines. So it kind of is surprising that everybody was just like, I'll just pay for Spotify and they can license everything. Except that it's actually really much more convenient than stealing. The iPod just made buying music kind of worth $1 for the convenience, if nothing else. So hopefully in the future with some system in place that can detect if a voice is fake or something, that can make it just harder. Maybe it's still like you can get through those kind of barriers if you work hard enough, but they're just hopefully hard and they like risk your account getting banned and things like that, so we don't get much of it. But I don't know. We'll have to see how this all plays out. It could just be an unstoppable mess, to be honest. Okay, so this is a personalization printer. It's just kind of like a printer. It like prints on stickers or objects. But what's interesting about it, and it got me thinking, is with the future of AI and vision, you can create something like this without it being truly assembly line perfect. So see how he just dumps all those Legos out there and it just draws the right characters onto them? You just throw the different size cards on it and it figures out what size to print the character and where the cards are located, their orientation, all of that. That's different. Like the machine itself is impressive. It's an impressive piece of hardware. But with the future of machine learning, computer vision, natural language, I can totally see how certain machines like this will be way more useful. Like you don't need to be an expert in, say, t-shirt printing or something like that. They'll probably you just throw a t-shirt on there and then tell it what you want, and it might just invent the object or proof it and then print it, and you don't need to know much. Or we can bring more manufacturing back to the United States in ways that require much less skill, which I hate to say it, but that's kind of useful. I don't know, just got me thinking. All right, now for the big news. OpenAI countersuing Elon Musk. The battle continues. Now, I don't think there's like a bright side and a wrong side to all of this, but I have always thought that it's wrong when there are different rules for different people. And there's so many times in the past when Elon Musk said, we're going to open source patents that we have on our Teslas because we just want the ecosystem to have them and being the leader matters. I've heard him talk about why lawsuits and patents are really just not his thing. Like if you're truly innovating, like don't worry about your competitors. But it's clear that he understands it and also doesn't just believe in that, believes in it when it kind of makes sense for him. And in this case where he can try to do the exact opposite, which is slow down OpenAI so he can catch up with XAI. He's totally willing to try to buy them, slow them down, sue them for different reasons. There's not a bone in my body that believes he was actually doing it because he was concerned about anything else than trying to slow them down so he can get ahead. So OpenAI's newsroom said, Elon's nonstop actions against us are just bad faith tactics to slow down OpenAI and seize control of the leading AI innovations for his personal benefit. Today, we countersued to stop him. What also seemed to irk Elon was that they were going to turn the company for profit, making, Sam Altman probably like tens or 20s of billions of dollars, putting him right up there in the Zuckerberg world. But I guess that's not happening anymore. He's been spreading false information about us. We're actually getting ready to build the best equipped, and here's the important part, nonprofit the world has ever seen. We're not converting it anyway. Elon's never been about the mission. He's always been about his own agenda. He tried to seize control of OpenAI and merge it with Tesla as a for-profit. His own emails prove it. When he didn't get his way, he stormed off. These antics are just history on repeat. See his emails here. Commenter, Ramishar says, good, sue him. He's a nasty person who pretends to care about humanity. Let me know in the comments if you think he actually cares about humanity. That's the thing, is like sometimes there's clouded judgment, sometimes people get egotistical. But there were times, especially like 6-7 years ago, where I would hear him talk about books that made me think he had a real concern for humans. So sometimes I wonder, but if the whole strategy is to be like this ultimate unchecked power with godlike financial status and government control to do it, it just doesn't seem like how you would equip a world to take care of itself. Like you would want a lot of other people in power for checks and balances. Okay, so let's talk about a few pieces that are coming together for Google and why this acquisition of Wiz, $32 billion. Keep it in mind, these are huge, huge numbers. I mean, remember, Facebook only paid $19 billion for WhatsApp. They paid $1 billion for Instagram, and that seemed crazy. And of course, inflation's a thing, but $32 billion for a company that doesn't seem to me like anybody's ever heard of it is just something maybe worth digging into. And it really wasn't anything that I cared that much about until I started thinking about the new announcement, Agent Space. So remember, this acquisition happened about a week before that. Okay, so there's a couple things that I find pretty interesting about this. First off, Wiz is a company that was built because it wasn't Google on all the major cloud platforms. So it's got deep tentacles into Microsoft Azure, Amazon AWS, and a couple other major players. And it leverages artificial intelligence to create digital twins of these cloud infrastructures. Okay, so to keep it secure, it has to really be aware of exactly like what the server looks like, how it's connected to the internet, all of the types of hardware that are in there, the types of software, the BIOSes that they're running, like God knows how much stuff, right? It simulates that and then does all these attacks against the simulated digital twin to figure out where the vulnerabilities are and then like patch them up. And remember, this company is pretty young. It was less than 5 years ago that it was founded. It's already reached $100 million in annual revenue. But if you sort of flip the script and you don't think about it understanding the details of all of these servers as simulating them to find weaknesses, but instead it's simulating them to achieve goals, it seems to me like that fits into this concept of agent space much better. Okay, so Agent Space is this big announcement that was made a few days ago, and it's the beginning of a framework to have multi-agent like universe out there where you have an agent that you ask a question to, it goes out and finds an agent that has specific knowledge or specific capabilities to solve something else. So for example, if I want something done, it makes the decision to go talk to my calendar agent or to find a calendar agent, or if I need to buy something or pay a bill, it goes to like an agent that has access to my bank account or something like that. They're starting just by integrating with popular third-party applications, Confluence, Google Drive, Jira, Microsoft stuff's in there, SharePoint, Salesforce. And then I think about some of the examples that they were using for Agent Space. For example, at the cloud conference with the announcement, they were like, in the marketing department, you might want to generate brand consistent content, analyze campaign performance. Kind of makes sense. Like different designers doing different things. You want them all connected in some way. They could be on different servers, different tools. You know, human resources, engineering, you can imagine like big projects have little components and all sorts of different tools and people involved. This is all based on the Gemini model. If now the Gemini model can also essentially see into these digital twins, see into all of the different tools and the cloud service providers, if it could be the first to really connect everything together for real world applications, AI in the future that can do important real work for us. And of course, solving that problem, like the real AI problem of like, hey, ChatGPT, can you go out there and make me some money? Can you go build me a huge brand on YouTube? Can you get my air conditioning fixed? And it has to go out and find all the right people, tools, robots, and actually execute on all of that. I mean, that's a multi-trillion-dollar problem to solve. Like, I mean, that's kind of it. It's kind of like the whole economy problem. And not only that, Wiz came with a lot of big clients, like out of the Fortune 100, I think it said like a good chunk of them, I can't remember the number, were like on this platform. So once again, if they are using this platform, it's also giving Google this overall insight where they could maybe say to all of their partners, hey, can we integrate AI so that you can make more money? when humans outside of your system want something and we can run it through one of your bots, here's the amount of money you get. I don't know. It's really interesting the way Google acquired this company and their newest announcements and how they're positioning themselves. Look, you guys know my channel. I've tried not to hate on Google. I know everyone's going through that phase where like ChatGPT's beating them on everything, and in some ways they were. But Demis Hassabis and the DeepMind team are my favorite team. So let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this. I am going to show you a little clip from a couple days ago. Sam Altman was asked about basically stealing content, and it's in front of a crowd, and here's how he acted and reacted.
Thinking of himself as an AI, came up with this. I thought this was actually rather profound. At first glance, this looks like IP theft. Like, you guys don't have a deal with the Peanuts estate, or?
You can clap about that all you want. Enjoy.
Showed, ChatGPT.
What do you think about that? You can, like, is this IP theft? People clap, and then he's like, you can clap about that all you want. Enjoy. Enjoy what? Clapping about IP theft? Like, that's real pleasurable for the rest of us? I don't know. It seemed just a little weird there. Like, where's the empathy? I mean, like, I'm not even saying I believe in a world where we have to have much better systems than we are right now, because, I think copyright is like kind of broken and it's very hard to enforce and all of these things. But for God's sakes, man, like, don't just shove it off like that.
Give a talk in the style of Carol Cadwalader. And she said, okay, it's great, but I did not consent to this. How are we going to navigate this?
We sorted that out before with copyright law and kind of what fair use looks like. Again, I think in the world of AI, there will be a new model that we figure out.
I mean, the world's creative people are some of the angriest people right now, or the most scared people about AI. Your work's being stolen from you, and your future is being stolen from you.
Well, again, I would say some creative people are very upset. Some creatives are like, this is the most amazing tool ever. I'm doing incredible new work. But, it's definitely a change. And I have a lot of, empathy to people who are just like, I wish this change weren't happening. I liked the way things were before.
How much were you shaken up by the arrival of DeepSeek? You're spending, it seems, like an order or even orders of magnitude more than DeepSeek allegedly spent.
All day long, I call people and beg them to give us their GPUs. We are so incredibly constrained. Our growth is going like this. DeepSeek launched, and it didn't seem to impact it.
How many users do you have now?
I think the last time we said was 500 million weekly actives, and it is growing very rapidly.
You told me that we doubled in just a few weeks, like in terms of compute.
I said that privately, but I guess.
Oh. I misremembered, Sam.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. We can edit that out.
That's okay. That's okay. No problem.
No one here would tweet it.
It's growing very fast.
Okay. Was that private? Was that meant to be secret? I don't know. You secretly telling people that you're doubling the compute? That's a big deal? I don't know.
Given that you're helping create technology that could reshape the destiny of our entire species, who granted you or anyone the moral authority to do that? And how are you personally responsible, accountable if you're wrong? No, it was good. That was impressive.
You've been asking me versions of this for the last half hour. What do you think?
Here's the Ring of Power from Lord of the Rings. Your rival, I will say, not your best friend at the moment, Elon Musk, claimed that he thought that you'd been corrupted by the Ring of Power. An allegation that, by the way,
Hi, Steve.
An allegation that could be applied to Elon as well, to be fair. But I'm curious. People, you have...
I might respond. I'm thinking about it. I might...
Oh, look at his face, dude. He is so annoyed right now. They put up the ring from Lord of the Rings, and they're like, "Boy, that's interesting." All right, so let's talk about Google's Firebase Studio. So it handles, when you're doing app development, authentication, databasing, hosting, cloud functions, analytics. It's rapid prototyping for full stack with AI-infused apps. All right, so this is the new AI preview. So if we want to create an app, let's try a tipping calculator is what they recommend. Let's prototype. So it starts by presenting me with a blueprint. Input the bill amount. It picked some colors. Let's go ahead and prototype. Wow, look at that thing code. That's crazy. Okay, let's prototype this app. Dun dun dun. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like Claude A little bit like ChatGPT, but it does seem, because I'm in a true interface that's built for app development, to be something closer to Replit or Windsurf. All right, so the bottom changes dynamically when I update it. There's a $60 bill, $100 bill. I mean, math checks out. Copy the URL, give it to somebody. I'm done building a simple app. And there it is, deployed on the web. I mean, it's pretty incredible. All right, let's talk about AI threats in software development. A new study has come out. So some researchers have dug into how AI models like ChatGPT can unintentionally create security risks for software developers. What if our tip calculator, what if it gave away our credit card or something? So their study shows that large language models sometimes recommend fake software packages. It's a hallucination, but it's more dangerous because if you ask it a certain question, I don't know, about the year someone was born and it hallucinates the wrong date, so be it. But if it actually looks for something else on the internet, a package in this case, which is like a chunk of code that you're importing into your code, so it's like reading all of that code and trusting it, if it hallucinates a package that doesn't exist and then a hacker goes out there, realizes this is a common hallucination, makes that package, you end up importing what the hacker wants, not the actual thing that is trustworthy. So these hallucinations happen when AI suggests installing a library that doesn't exist. A sneaky hacker can exploit this, creating malicious packages with the same name, and this study involved over 2 million code samples and found this issue popping up quite a bit, especially in JavaScript, it turns out. And they're not just rare glitches. LLMs are used so widely in coding now that trusting them too much could open the door for serious vulnerabilities. And of course, you can ask AI, what's some good ideas for a fake package? What are common misconceptions? Read through all this code, see what are the most common hallucinations. AI can help the hackers too. The takeaway is just one innocent, incorrect command could set you up for a bad day. All right, let's talk about the thalamus, the part of the brain. Might be kind of a gateway for shuttling in consciousness. Let's talk about it. Published in Singularity Hub, our conscious perception of the world depends on this deep brain structure. So consciousness has always been one of the brain's biggest mysteries, but a new study might be cracking the code. Researchers in China have tapped into the brains of people who already had electrodes implanted to treat severe headaches, acted like a little gatekeeper, and maybe a very important one, because that was determining which bits of information make it into our conscious awareness. Stuff comes in and we don't feel conscious. So it could be like the Goldilocks, letting in just what's needed for consciousness. By tracking brain signals as participants responded to visual cues, the study found synchronized brain waves only when people were actually aware of what they saw. Okay, so I think this is really interesting. When you're aware of something, when you're conscious of it, when you've brought your attention to it, which is such a big part of consciousness. It's such a big part of why LLMs do such great work. And now they're finding that because of this gatekeeper, it is letting in synchronized brain waves only when people are actually aware of what they saw when they put attention on something. So it turns out the thalamus isn't just a neutral relay. It might be one of the stars of the show. Digital thalamus, little gatekeeper, that could be the trick to getting AI to wake up, to become conscious. Maybe? All right, so this is an extremely talented mathematician who's also interested in linguistics. And Ty Deanna Bradley has come up with a really interesting mathematical expression. So she's calling it magnitude. It's borrowed from category theory. But in this case, when it's applied to language, it ends up revealing entropy. The expression magnitude, category theory, applied to sentences, you get entropy, a measure of disorder. Pretty interesting. It's a key concept from information theory. It might be why time moves forward. Might also explain the Big Bang and why everything's moving towards more disorder. But anyhow, back to the language application, which is really what's cool in this topic. The study of shapes live in totally separate worlds. But now we're talking about shape and the structure of a sentence. And this unexpected overlap hints at a deep fundamental link between how we measure information and how we understand structure, potentially offering a brand new way to compare languages or even study how meaning emerges in AI and human communication. All right, let's talk about overconfident at scale, generative AI, and the illusion of expertise. Calvin Barker wrote this. So this is a deep dive into how generative AI is unintentionally essentially turning us all into victims of the Dunning-Kruger effect. And to be honest, I use AI so much to help me summarize this stuff, and it makes me, people are like, oh my gosh, you know so much about AI. And I'm like, well, I do love it and I do try my hardest, but honestly, nobody can digest all of this. Like, AI is a tool that makes me on camera seem like I know a lot more than I would if you just talked with me in person and asked me how much of all of this I remember. So it's important that me and other people like me using tools like this try to keep our humbleness and our awareness about how much we're leaning on it. But his perspective is it's not that people are getting dumber. It's not like an idiocracy type thing, but it's just that way more folks are jumping into new domains really fast. They're armed with superficial knowledge and inflated confidence. You know, you want to go start writing about how cars work, like ChatGPT will help you with your writing and it will seem like you know exactly how they work, even if you've never like put a car together or been a mechanic. And it also leads to mistakes, especially in a fast-paced work environment where speed is favored over reflection. So the article just encourages basically slowing down just enough to ask better questions, challenge assumptions, and use simple tools like something he references that came from Socrates, actually. It's called the 5 Whys, or Socratic questioning to avoid crashing hard. All right, let's become a quick expert on Socratic questioning. All right, you clarify your thinking, you probe assumptions, you examine evidence, you explore alternatives, you consider consequences, and then you reflect on the question. Yeah, that seems like something we should all be doing a lot more of. All right, so if you want to support the channel, hit me up, patreon.com/DylanCurious, or hit that join button below. Thanks for all the support. Always helps when people share, like, comment, you know, doing all that stuff. And yeah, let's try to keep growing this channel, this community. I appreciate all of your comments. I'm trying to read them all, especially if you're a Patreon member. I always do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will see you guys in the next video.